Welcome back to Prep Sports Now. I'm Case Kiefer alongside the local high school football expert and historian, Ray Brewer. Apologize, we missed last week. Had some complications. Ray was feeling a little under the weather. I was out of town, but we're back right now as the season kind of winding down, as crazy as it is, getting into the playoffs, having some of those long-awaited big-time matchups we're waiting for here at the end of the regular season. We'll take stock of it all, look at this week's set of games, and go back to last week. How are you doing, Ray? And where do you want to start?
Would you be mad at me, CK, if I blew up the Desert Pines Liberty game as if it was the Rose Bowl?
I mean, I would expect nothing less because that's what you do every year. But the only thing is, I think it can't be called the Rose Bowls. I don't know if it still stands, but I love that. That was back in the day, the Coronado Liberty rivalry, right?
It was.
On St. Rose. So we got to come up with a different name, but otherwise, I
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah, I just think that in a season of blowouts, as we've documented many times on the show, to finally get a game of two teams that have players on it that will be going to college that we know that have been killing local people all year. Now, Liberty may be the heavy favorite. They sure did, look that way last year when they won 49-7 against the banged up Desert Pines team. But I think both teams come in, full. It appears to be fully healthy. Liberty's having a 20th anniversary celebration, bringing back players from former years. So I'm all ready to go. I'm fired up. And of course, this week's also the Hammer game, Virgin Valley hosting Moapa Valley in one of those fun Nevada rivalries.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So two big games on the jump. I know there's a lot to get to with those two things, but I guess the first thing that stands out to me, 20-year anniversary. Are you privy to any of the guest lists? There's got to be some big names showing up to see the Patriots on Friday, right?
Yeah, I mean, you just think of some of the who's who in the program's history: Sam Ty, Ethan Dedeaux, Nico Capelli, of course, probably the best player in Liberty history, right? Would
Who's the
be
best?
Kai Nakua. His jersey's retired. The Jeffersons coming in. I can't even remember. Was it Noah Jefferson that played football for him? All those regional championships in a row, finally beating Bishop Gorman. So that's pretty cool for me. And last game of the year before we head into the playoffs. And Desert Pines has got some guys that could go. So it's going to be a fun night.
Yeah, and looking over the scores from last week, Desert Pines was kind of eye-opening. I know you probably picked them to win, expected them to win, but they just pounded Faith Lutheran, who we had been complimentary of so far this year on the podcast. That thought they had been a little bit better than maybe we expected, but Desert Pines just smashes them 49-21. To you, was that a good sign for this game? Maybe being more competitive than we would have expected.
Yeah, I just think the one thing with Desert Pines is they're always going to have a problem in the trenches, right? They've got five linemen and and they're probably not going to be as big and strong as Liberty's line. So eventually you would think Liberty's going to be able to ground and pound them. Liberty's had a great running back all year. Case, I'm not great at names, and I apologize. And it's never because I want to insult the young man. Isaiah Leafoo, the Liberty tailback, is just one of these guys that all year has been running in between the tackles. And I think Tico Rodriguez, the Desert Pines coach, said it best. It's Miami versus Nebraska, right? The speed of Desert Pines against the power of Liberty. And of course, some years Liberty's had more speed with, Jeremy Bernard, obviously last year.
Yeah, I do like the comparison. I worry the kids playing in this game are going to be like Miami and Nebraska. I mean, that's ancient history for high school kids of
Yeah,
this
but
age.
for Tico and me, that we're the same age.
Hey, no, I remember it too. I was a little younger than you guys, but I do remember a little bit of those of those dynasties. But I got to be thinking like an 18-year-old kid these days is thinking Miami and Nebraska.
It's embarrassing. Yeah.
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 But yeah, that should be fun. I know part of the reason you have problems with names is all the Polynesian influence at Liberty and how they've taken the that culture and their program over the years. Desert Pines used to have some of that too. Is there still some Polynesian
Of course,
and
yeah.
yeah, so maybe that's the name instead of the Rose Bowl. Can we come up with some Polynesian name
The
for this?
Pineapple Bowl, the Poly Bowl.
Yeah, we can't do Polynesian Classic because it's already taken. But yeah, I like Pineapple Bowl or
Yeah.
Polynesian Mashup. I like that.
Yeah, and I just, Greg Burrell just had one of those special days last week against Faith Lutheran. He's been running the ball hard all year for him. The two freshmen, Messiah Mingo, Trey Jackson, are nothing short of spectacular. And Desert Pines, though, they're still a team that's got limited amount of players. They're going to go out there with, and if they get behind, it could get ugly. They got to stay disciplined for the first part of the game. And if Liberty lets them hang around a little bit, then we might have some live action. But I do think Liberty's probably 20 points better and beats them 85 out of 100 times.
Yeah, I think I'd love to argue with you and say any of that sounds ridiculous, but it sounds like it makes quite a bit of sense to me. Liberty should be a big favorite, but you also you have it right. You're not diving too far into the Ray Brewer bag of tricks and theories. I think you're right. You try to shorten the game. You try to stick with them for a while, and then see what happens. Give yourself a chance to win at the end. See if some crazy things happen. But I like that recipe. We'll get back to that game in the picks. But yeah, you mentioned the other headliner, Moapa and Virgin at Virgin this year for the Hammer. Seems like Moapa's kind of had the upper hand in the rivalry lately. I know Virgin's won once or twice. It hasn't been just Moapa sweep, but Moapa won in the state championship last year. Would they be the favorite here again, or could you convince me that the Bulldogs deserve that distinction?
Yeah, so if you remember, was it like 6 weeks ago? I was really, really high on Virgin. I watched them at Shap, and I'd made the argument that I thought Virgin or Slam may be the better team moving forward. And, all Moapa's done is gone out and, set a program record for straight wins. But I think Gunnar Cortez throws a great ball for the Bulldogs. I think the Chase Audison kid may be the best player in the game. Jared Jensen's had a good year. And I just see this as one of these classic Class 3A, field position battle, backyard brawls, physical game, whoever has the ball last. I really think it's going to be a coin flip. But you'd be naive to say that Virgin's going to get blown out. I think Moapa is a slight favorite simply because it's Moapa. For some reason, they have a way of winning games down, when it's close, and that's just unfortunately where we're at. But I love this Virgin team this year. The brief quarter that I watched them play, they look good. Granted, they were playing my Cowboys, who aren't that great.
Yeah, I know you have been high on Virgin since. Well, you actually came into the year low on them. You thought maybe they were a cut below Moapa and some of these other teams, but ever since you saw them, you've been high on them. So that makes sense to me. The Moapa, though, tracking your feelings on Moapa this year has been like a roller coaster to me. You had me convinced they were the best team at the beginning of the year. You kind of fell off a little bit. Had the famous Colin maybe Slam could beat them. Then it seemed like you were back high on them, and I thought I wouldn't see you pick against Moapa the rest of the year. And now it seems like you're kind of waffling again. You're not sure who the better team is.
Yeah, I just did. So, Case, you know all my theories. What's my my number one Ray Brewer picking theory in high school football?
Is high school football still the best player on the field or name on the jersey?
Well, okay, top three, because best player on the field is one of my theories. Okay. Top three, and it's probably more than this other one.
Name on the jersey or no?
No. The other one. This is the one, number three.
I'm 0 for 2. That's
0 for 2.
Bad.
Don't bet against Pahrump, right?
Okay. Well, I didn't know we were getting that specific, but yeah.
Don't bet against Pahrump. They're tough to beat at home. They're a different team off the island. Explain to me then, how does El Dorado go to Prump last week and win to clinch a playoff spot?
Rules are made to be broken, I guess.
Yeah, and then, but now do I devalue teams that have gone there during the year and played them and barely escaped with wins?
It's something you got to look back on, but I don't know. Every game's such its own animal, and I need to know more details of the game and how it played out. I mean, El Dorado has kind of been trending upwards, right? They won the cleat, not to bring up bad memories for you, but it seemed like they'd been getting better as the year went on, and maybe they just caught them at a good time.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, CK, but you're right. Something had to have gone awry that we didn't know about. I mean, Trump could have had a bunch of injuries, but I mean, El Dorado was quietly 5-3 overall, 2-1 in league.
Yeah, they're like I said, they teams gotten a little bit better every week. So
They won
shouldn't be shocked.
14-8 up there, and a clearly a ball possession game. But just by comparisons, Moapa Valley beat them 40-7, and Virgin put up 54 against El Dorado. But yet somehow when Moapa played, I'm sorry, when Moapa played at Pahrump, they won 7-6.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I mean, football's a crazy game. There's a lot of variables. Maybe there were some injuries there, or maybe it's just teams headed in different directions. Certainly by the transitive property and the scores you're saying, it doesn't make much sense. But we know there's more parity on these lower levels, and you are more likely to see some upsets. I don't know. I don't have an answer, but that's some of what I want to dive in more to the details there. That's how some of the way I could have seen it playing out.
Yeah.
How about Moapa last week? They are coming into the Virgin game on form. They beat Somerset 50-8, right? Somerset is Coach Barneson's new program, correct?
Correct. Yeah. And we haven't done a great job covering the charter schools this year just because, we just haven't done a great job. But nonetheless, Moapa is, I mean, they've outscored folks 317-93. And that's basically given up 22 to Hurricane and Boulder City. So you take that away, and they're basically beating everybody 40-0, 40-8 every week. And it's been, one of those things where they're the favorite, in my opinion, to beat Virgin, and I'm not quite sure if they're going to win state. I don't know how they're going to fare against the teams up north.
Yeah, Virgin though, we shouldn't take anything away from what they did last week. They won 42-0 against Western. Probably a little bit easier of an opponent there, but still coming into this game in the way you would want. It looks like they're both playing well at the end of the year, so it should make for another fun hammer game. Before we get to the picks, anything else stand out on the schedule or anything else we need to shout out or talk about?
From last week, Silverado won big again. 9-0, have only given up 23 points this year. You could kind of argue that they're more of a favorite to win state than Gorman.
By point differential, yeah, it's probably similar, right? So
Yeah.
they're both probably more than 99%, I would say.
Yeah,
and Gorman a little less than 99.
Yeah, and Gorman beat Palo, I think 70-0.
Oof.
And then 2 weeks ago, you missed it, but I went to Shadow Ridge for a game.
Oh, I remember we talked about it beforehand. We just didn't talk about that.
Have you ever been there before?
I've never been there for a game. I've been up there a couple times. Like maybe one time they were having a basketball tournament there, and then we had like our player of the week one time went there, and I went up there in their weight room and talked to him. But that was both those were like 10 years ago, so never been to a game there.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a commute to say the least.
Yeah, I remember you'd see the horses.
Yeah, horses, picket fences. It's like we're in the middle of Kansas, CK.
How was the game day there though?
It's not bad. I mean, they've got a good they've got a lot of community participation in terms of like a band and young kids from the neighboring grade schools dancing at halftime like they did over at Foothill. So that was impressive.
Yeah. All right. Well, good on Shadow Ridge, who still I mean, they won that game against Coronado and they won again last week. Like you said, 49-0 against Mojave. Uh, they're still penciled into that number 2 spot in the
Yeah,
four.
they're still in line to lose the state championship to Silverado.
Exactly.
They'll still be pissed off about. They're you didn't realize this, but they're avid listeners of the podcast.
And they don't like me because I have never. Well, I feel like I picked them a lot this year. I don't know.
Yeah,
In the past, I used to needle them a little bit, but nothing but respect for what they've built over there. They've been doing it year in and year out now, right? It's time
correct.
to give them their due.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
Well, I will tell you the picks case. There's probably 3 games that are coin flips. Um, I'm not good at math, my friend, but I'm 131 and 22 on the season. What percent is that?
very good. Off that, what 130? What would you say? So it's about 150, and you're hitting
One,
130. So
131 and 22 on the year.
yeah, you're doing very well. I don't think you have you have to apologize to anyone for
Okay.
that.
Yeah. And I think when people see it, they may be like, oh gosh, Brewer has us winning or losing. We better not, or we're gonna lose. So we'll get
Yeah,
to the
that's
picks because
yeah.
they're 3 interesting games.
Yeah, high standard uphold. I think that's almost 90% or 90% or something like that. But anyways, let's see if you can hit 9 out of every 10 this week going forward. Canyon Springs at Arborview. I think this is not one of the coin flips.
No, Thursday night game, Arborview, I guess back on track kind of after the Gorman debacle. I still think that they're in shock that they lost that bad to Gorman. Was it now 3 weeks ago? And I mean, Arborview is still kind of a top 3 team in town, and they want to get another crack at Arborview. I mean, at Gorman. Freshman Jaden Williams has been great for them, so they've got talent at every age group, and Canyon Springs is just beat up. No quarterback. Their quarterback's out. Arbor's going to enjoy the game on Thursday night lights.
Yep, our review for me as well. Now we get to the coin flip portion. It looks like all three of them might be back to back to back. Moapa at Virgin to start it out.
Yeah. So, Case, I almost picked Moapa. I mean, I almost picked Virgin here. Like I said, for me, if you get a quarterback in high school football that could sling it around, you got a chance. And I know this is going to be a nick and tuck game. I know it's going to be field position. I know it's going to be, could Moapa do what it wants to do in the ground game? I mean, let's be honest. Moapa's going to line up and give the ball to their best player, and they're going to try to win the game. And I really think that Virgin Valley with Cortez and Auditson, they got a chance. And is Landon Rosinski get the ball 20 times? Because if he does, I think Moapa wins. I think they ride the kid. It's a coin flip game. I got Moapa. I got Rosinski, but it's breaking my heart because I really think Virgin might be the team that's got a better chance to go up north and win.
Oh yeah, you're driving me crazy with this pick because I am bouncing back and forth just as much as you. I do think, I got to stick to my priors a little bit. And coming into the season, I thought Moapa was the best team. I still think they're kind of the team to beat, but I love a good passing game too. And I think maybe Virgin Valley, with some of those kids you mentioned, having a multifaceted offense. To me, it really comes down to the Moapa Valley defense. How much do you trust them to defend against some of this stuff? And I just feel like they've built up too much of a track record over the years, sir. Especially now at the end of the regular season, you feel like they're going to be locked in for this game. I don't think they're going to be sloppy. I trust them a little bit more. The infrastructure there, and I think it comes down to the defense. And I'm going to take a leap of faith with the defense. And I'm right there with you. You have Moapa a 1-point win. I'd say less than a touchdown as well. I think this is a close game, but I'm going to go just with the history of Moapa a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, and and the other thing is, I don't buy this that there's some jagaloon up north that's got his power rankings, and it's like Elko, Spring Creek, Tahoe, Little Sisters of the Poor, blah blah blah, and then Moapa and Virgin. And I'm like, how could 5 teams in Reno be better than Moapa and Virgin? Are you telling me that Moapa is going to go up there and lose by like multiple touchdowns to somebody in the playoffs? Like, did Brent Lewis forget how to coach football? Is Landon Rosinski not a truck to bring down? I don't understand.
I think they made those rankings just specifically to get under your skin. Sounds like it. That would certainly be something to trigger you. But yeah, I agree with you. It's hard for me to believe. You can tell me that there's two or maybe even three teams that they have a tough time beating, but they're 6 and 7. That seems a little crazy to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could Moapa and Virgin meet again in the playoffs? Like they have.
I think both of them would have to beat Northern teams.
Okay, so this is probably going to be the one-time meeting this year.
Correct. But the fourth meeting in 18 months with the COVID year, right?
Right. And Moapa's won 3 of them?
They've won them all.
Oh, they have? I thought Virgin won one for some reason. Maybe that was pre-COVID.
They won in 19, I think.
Okay, pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah. So we're both going to be on Moapa here. Yeah, I don't know. I wish I could go differently. I hope this is a great game, and I'd even like to see Virgin win to spice it up a little bit, but I think Moapa gets it done. Let's go to the next game. The other one we talked about at the top of the show, Desert Pines at Liberty. I feel like this is going to be the same it is every year these teams play. I did like some of the cases you made for Desert Pines. I'm a big fan of their program and what they've built, and it seems like they're playing better now towards the end of the year, but I just don't see them hanging with Liberty that well. I think Liberty, they're going to do the haka. They're going to be all fired up. They're going to have all these program greats on the sideline. Yeah, it's tough for me to see them having a sloppy performance here. I think they come out, get out to a big lead, and cruise to a win here.
Yeah, I don't know about the big lead. So again, I think of all the years of the Desert Pines Liberty game, and Liberty is taking great pride in really beating them because let's be honest, Desert Pines does get some good players to go over there. So, Liberty does a phenomenal job of coming ready to go, clicking on all cylinders, and they're going to be pissed that we said that Desert Pines has any sense of athleticism because they're going to want to go out there and prove that they are both Miami and Nebraska, right? But I just think this Desert Pines team is as healthy as any Desert Pines team that's faced them. Remember that 2016 year where Desert Pines had like Isaiah Morris and the wide receiver that went to USC that ended up at UNLV and now's at Weber State, and Markel Grayson, and then Grayson tears his ACL, and the kid that Grimes had to play quarterback, and they just by the time they got to Liberty, it was half of what they should have been. And then last year they've got the Barnes kid who's scoring touchdowns against KU on Saturday for Oklahoma. He doesn't play he's got an awful senior year. He doesn't play against Liberty. Well, this year, all the good Desert Pines players, Burrell, the freshman, Patassi up front, they're ready to go. So if there's ever a year that we get this game to enter the hype that we think it's going to be, it's now. So I think it's close. I think it's a 18 to 20 point game, but I got Liberty as well.
Yeah, I like it. I like all your description, and I'm not calling you crazy or anything. I just it makes me happy. Like you say, maybe it's a fairer fight this year with Desert Pines healthy and clicking right now. I got to stick to my guns, and I think Liberty. I think there's a clear top tier with Gorman, and there's a clear second tier with Liberty, and then after that is another tier lies everyone else. So I've got Liberty pretty big here, but should be a fun game nonetheless.
Who would you pick Desert Pines Arbor View?
This year I'd pick Arborview.
Okay.
Would you pick DP?
I don't know.
Is there any chance they could play? I don't know what
they could play.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
I mean, I think our reviews won more of the games historically, but they've been pretty close. I mean, DP's won at least a couple, right? It's not like
Yeah,
the series has been lopsided.
they've essentially also been pretty close games as well. So I just think that I just in the playoffs, and I hate to say this, wouldn't it be great if we saw an overtime game in the playoffs of the 5A?
Yeah, that would be great, unless you were there and you needed to get
Get
home
back to call the other coaches. I know. Yeah.
I
Okay.
just, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not saying that I'm correct. You're the experts. You could correct me. But my perception of these teams is I still think this is one of the best art review teams ever. Maybe not the best. That's to be seen. But I think it's one of their most talented teams. And DP, while I think they're really good and they've hit that stride where they're going to be competitive every year, I don't think this is one of their best teams ever. Am I wrong in that?
You're correct. And I do think that DP's got a lot of younger players that are good right now, and we'll see how they develop. So,
Yeah. So I, I think we talked this one through and we came to the right consensus. Hopefully, they'll play in the playoffs and we can talk about Desert Pines and our review more then. But for now, let's get to the other game that could really go either way here. See if we could ever disagree on something. Green Valley at Faith Lutheran. Green Valley coming off a 50-14 win over Centennial. Wasn't even close last week. We already talked about Faith Lutheran had the reverse fate. They got stomped by Desert Pines. What do you think about this one?
yeah, and this is interesting because Green Valley I've said has had, one of the toughest schedules in Las Vegas. They've won 2 games. Last week, they handled Centennial pretty well, and then they beat Basic and Henderson Bowl, which again, if the Moore kid doesn't go out for Basic, who knows what happens in that game, right?
Yeah.
And I just think that Faith is so limited with its athletes um that that Green Valley, even, like Freddie Rodriguez is going to be like Saquon Barkley, and they're going to win the game. Give me the Gators.
Yeah, I don't. I want to. I'm going to go Faith here. They're playing at home. I wouldn't say it's my number one theory since we disagree on the theories, but I'm a bigger home field advantage guy. I know Faith gets good crowds. They have that little bit different turf, at least they used to up there. I think there's some value to home field. I think they're. I mean, talent wise, I feel like this game's pretty close. Green Valley might be playing well lately, but man, I feel like this is as close as either of the other two games, and I'm going to go opposite of you here and go with the Crusaders.
Yeah, I knew you would.
Yeah, how'd you know that?
I just know. I know you just want to be different than me. You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm with you on the other two, but I got to go with Faith here. Should be a fun game and quite the reward for the winner and not having to play Gorman next week. So we'll see. A lot on the line here. We're gonna go different. I'll go Faith. You'll go Green Valley. Let's get to the rest of the schedule. Coronado at Sierra Vista.
Coronado at Sierra Vista, definitely Coronado. I think the Cougars are a top 4 team in the 4A. Vista's probably a top 6 or 7 team. Coronado survived a little scare from your Grizzlies of Spring Valley last week, but they're playoff ready.
Yeah, don't count out the Grizzlies now. They almost knocked off Coronado, another one of my teams. So glad to see both teams played well in that game. But I've got Coronado here, even though Sierra Vista has done some good things this year. They're not a walkover. How about Cimarron at Sunrise Mountain?
Cimarron beat up on my Cowboys, going for a 4th straight win. I'll take the Spartans.
Yeah, Cimarron got to be the pick there. Here's a my team versus your team type of one, but I think you're going to have the upper hand here. My Grizzlies are hosting your Mustangs. Can Shadow Ridge go into the playoffs, still in that number 2 slot, go in on a high note and beat down the Grizzlies, or will this game be closer than you think?
Yeah, so even if they would lose to Spring Valley, they would still hold the tiebreaker over Coronado. So essentially a meaningless game for Shadow Ridge, although this is a decent little test because Spring Valley does have some Jimmies and Joes on the outside, which is what Shadow's going to see against Silverado. So I expect this to be probably a a 10 to 15 point game for the Mustangs of Shadow Ridge. I expect Spring Valley to come give them a hell of a fight.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Spring Valley is good, so I'm not going to pick them to get blown out or anything. But I mean, Shadow Ridge is well coached, seems disciplined. They have good players. Even with the situation, it's hard for me to see them overlooking someone. And if they aren't overlooking, they should win this game. So I think they win a close game. Spring Valley continues their good year and puts up a respectable effort, but I think Shadow Ridge ultimately has a little too much. How about your Las Vegas Wildcats, who I saw last week had a strange game where they go up there and play Minogue, got beat pretty good, but now they come back down here to take on Del Sol.
Yeah, a rare late season roadie out of the region into Reno. Minogue is I'd say the Cadillac of programs in Northern Nevada. They took it to my Wildcats pretty good, but they got to play a good opponent in colder weather. I think they'll be ready for the playoffs. I got confidence in my guy Eli Espinoza. Give me the Kitty Cats.
All right, yeah, I'm going to go with Vegas as well. This might be the last game that fits in this category, but I feel like this one maybe should have even been in the coin flips, right? Can't Palo at Legacy? Couldn't this one go either way, or is Palo a lot better than Legacy that I'm giving them credit for?
Yeah, you're right. This could be a little closer, but I think Palo has done a good job of beating the teams they're supposed to this year. Rallied to beat Foothill, showed a lot of fight there. They beat up on Centennial. I got the Panthers against the Longhorns.
Yeah, I'll go with the Panthers as well, but I think this is one of the closer games of the week. Maybe not as big as the other three, but I think it's up there. I'm going to go with Palo as well. Bonanza at Mojave.
I watched Del Sol play last week, and they looked awful. Unfortunately, God bless them, and they beat Bonanza. Mojave hasn't won to September 2nd, but I can't see Bonanza beating anybody. Give me the Rattlers.
Whew. My first instinct here is actually to go Bonanza. Am I crazy?
Yeah, you're probably crazy.
Okay, well, thanks for the honesty, and then you'll save me. I'm gonna go with Mojave. No, I think everyone knows the first instinct here. Bishop Gorman hosting Foothill. I've got Gorman big.
Yeah, Gorman. I did the math: 190 to 0 over the last 3 weeks. 2 weeks ago, they didn't have an incomplete pass. They scored whatever amount of points on 22 total plays. 68 points on 22 plays.
Whew. That's ridiculous. Yeah, so not bad at all there. I'll go Gorman. How about Rancho hosting Western?
Rancho wins there in the playoffs. Leon Evans gets it done.
Yep, Rancho in the playoffs. Congrats to them. I've got you. I got an agreement there. Basic hosting Clark. Basic had kind of been on a downturn, but bounced back last week and beat Desert Oasis. I think they get another win here.
Yeah, I've got the Wolfpack over the Chargers. I did watch Clark a little bit last night or last week on the Thursday night game. They did some good things offensively. Shout out the basics, Antone Taylor. 7 sacks, 4 tackles for a loss last week against Durango.
Ooh, yeah.
7 CK sacks.
Yeah, kid is tearing it up. So shout out to him, and I'll go with basic as well. Silverado at Desert Oasis. I think this will be similar to the Bishop Gorman hosting Foothill. A lot to a little.
Yeah, Silverado's only given up 23 points this year, and I know one of their assistant coaches is very eager to win this game.
All right. Interesting note there. Former Desert Oasis coach.
Mike Evans.
There you go. All right. I've got Silverado as well. 2 more games. Slam Charter at the Peking El Dorado went and ruined Brewers Theory in Pahrump last week. Can they get a second straight win against Slam? I got to think Slam's the favorite here, but don't count out the Sun Devils.
Yeah, I Slam's the one team in the 3A that could actually sling the ball around and score. And I've got the Slams.
I'm gonna go Slam as well. It's funny, I didn't even read your I swear I didn't read your description before I went on that little spiel, and it looks like you said the exact same thing I did. Don't count out the Sun Devils. So
Yeah.
who knows? I'm gonna say closer than you do. Do you have a 24-point game? I'm gonna say closer than that, but Slam wins. And then finally, we'll sign off with Cheyenne at Chaparral. I think it's going to be a good week for your Cowboys, actually.
Last chance for me to pick my family. I'll take the Cowboys, orange and black all day. CK.
All right. Well, we discussed the three big games. We'll be back next week to talk about them again. For Ray, I'm Case. Thanks for listening to Prep Sports Now.